when you are not in alignment with yourself, that is the fastest, easiest, quickest way to experience burnout because you're not doing the things that are right for you. And that is why you feel lost. Hello, welcome to Authentically Aligned, a wellness podcast where we speak on all things wellness, from fitness and nutrition to meditation and mindfulness, healing, growth, self-help, and so much more. If you are a new listener, welcome to the podcast. And if you are a returning listener, thank you so much for your love and support. And I want you to know that I'm sending you that same love and support right back. On today's episode, I want to talk about something that I think is way more common than we even realize. And sometimes we don't even realize that we're experiencing it. But what I'm talking about is burnout. So, what is burnout? So, burnout is a state of physical, mental, emotional exhaustion that is caused by excessive and prolonged amounts of stress. Burnout typically occurs when you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling stressed, you're feeling drained, and like you can't complete any task at hand or even on your mind. It feels like everything is burdensome, and it almost feels like you are unable to tackle anything, even though you have everything in the world that you could be doing. It looks like maybe having a million things to do, but choosing to sit on the couch and do nothing. But then at the end of the sitting on the couch and doing nothing, you don't feel replenished, you don't feel better because you're not spending your time wisely and actively recovering and resting and coming back to yourself. So today I want to talk about burnout because I think it's something that so many people experience. And I think that it's something that people may not even realize that they're experiencing because the world that we live in, we have become conditioned to live in a constant state of stress, of being busy, of excitement. And there's nothing wrong with those things, but I do think that a lot of us do have an addiction to being stressed, what's coming next, always having something to do. And a result of that is burnout because we're not taking the time to properly replenish our soul, our spirit, our mind, and even our bodies. So the first thing I want to talk about is what are the signs of burnout and how do you know if you're experiencing burnout? Some of the signs that you are experiencing burnout could be you feeling drained, you feeling very emotionally unstable, very on edge. Any little thing could set you off, feeling exhausted and sleeping so much, but waking up and still feeling exhausted, feeling disconnected from yourself, feeling disconnected from others. Essentially, it's a heightened state of exhaustion that no amount of sleep or improper rest is going to fix. I think that a lot of us can experience this when we are working so hard toward a goal that maybe has no purpose, which is something that we've spoken on in the past. And working on something that does not bring you fulfillment and drive and purpose and doing something just to feel like you're doing something, maybe not even working toward a goal, can absolutely be one of the major causes of burnout. So, of course, it's always so important to take a step back and evaluate if you are feeling these symptoms, if you are feeling so exhausted, if you are feeling like you just can't give anymore. But for some reason, you're not really doing the most. You're not doing everything that you know you could be doing. And we've discussed this before, but that has to do with you not being fulfilled. And when you are fulfilled and you're doing something that is within your purpose and that is giving back to you, you are receiving just as much as you are giving. And burnout occurs when you are not receiving what you are giving, because a lot of times what you are giving to is non-existent or it's not within your purpose. So you're not receiving the reciprocity of energy as you typically should when you're living a life of alignment, a life of purpose, a life of fulfillment. And so really taking a step back and understanding, okay, first of all, understanding the symptoms. So what are the symptoms that I'm experiencing? I'm experiencing pure exhaustion. I don't want to be around anybody. I have a million things to do, but I can't seem to get up and do the smallest task. It seems like the biggest task in the world. And having that mindset shift of, okay, no, there's something deeper that's going on here. I normally have my routine and I normally am doing this. I do this. I go about my day. But why is it that this week I'm not able to do these things? And I'm going to be so for real with you guys right now. This is the week that I experienced this week because I was feeling so exhausted. I was feeling the burnout. I was feeling like I didn't really know what my purpose was. I was feeling like I couldn't even get enough sleep. And I was sleeping plenty. I was taking care of myself, or so I thought. Because here's the thing is, you can take all the time to rest in the world. But if that rest isn't active, productive rest, you're just wasting time. And I think that a lot of people think that, okay, well, I'm going to spend 2 hours at home tonight, whether it's sitting on the couch, watching TV, scrolling on your phone, eating a nice meal, whatever it is. But if you are not filling into your cup, and if you're not addressing and tackling the things that are going on inside of you, then really that rest that you think is rest is just wasted time because it's not active, it's not purposeful. Even our rest has to have purpose. And you know the types of things that are restful that pour into you, and you know the types of things that are restful that leave you feeling empty inside, that don't bring you that fulfillment. And why are we doing those things? Does that make you feel better at the end of the day? Or does really pouring into yourself and really connecting back with yourself, connecting back to God, connecting back to your purpose, pouring into yourself, that is the active rest that you need to rid yourself of this burnout? I think it's really hard because when we start to experience this burnout, it becomes so much harder to actively pour into ourselves because we are experiencing this exhaustion, and it becomes somewhat of a mental block where we feel like we can't do anything, so let me just do nothing and that's going to make me feel better. But doing nothing is completely counterproductive. And like I said before, it's just wasting your time. So thinking about the activities that you may participate in, the rest or recovery or rejuvenation that you might participate in that is going to leave you feeling better, feeling rested, feeling replenished, feeling like your cup is full again so that you are able to tackle the things that you want to do. And not only that, but recognizing you can do all of this rest, you can replenish, you can rejuvenate, you can do all these things and you feel great. You start Monday off great. It's a great week. But if you are actively working toward things that are not in your purpose, that are not bringing you fulfillment, that are not in alignment with your highest and best self, then you're going to experience that burnout so much faster. So you can do all of the recovery things. You can do all of the rest. You can take care of yourself as you want. But if you're doing things that are not in alignment, your energy is going to deplete so much faster. So it really truly is a balance, and it's not an easy task to do because it really requires you to sit down and be aware and address, okay, how did this week go? How was I feeling? What are the things that I participated in, whether it be in a work sense or it be in a restful sense? And understand the things that were beneficial, that were moving yourself to that highest self, moving yourself closer to purpose, closer to alignment, closer to God, or what are the things that are pulling you further away from that purpose, pulling you further, leaving you exhausted. And it looks different for everybody, and it takes time to really figure out what these things are. It's very interesting because it goes back to last week's episode when we were talking about internal self-awareness. Because if you don't have that internal self-awareness, you're not able to take that step back and evaluate the things in your life that may be causing you burnout, or the things in your life that are going to help to heal and work through this burnout that you may be experiencing. Now, there are many ways that we can cope with and heal and fix our burnout, but it's important to understand where our burnout is stemming from and the root of that. So what I recommend you doing is taking 1 week, or maybe not even a week, maybe you just start with 3 days, and writing down what those 3 days looked like. What are the activities that you did throughout the day from the time that you woke up to the time that you went to bed? And each activity, write down, did this fill my cup or did this empty my cup? And take tally, because at the end of the day, if your cup is in the negative, how are you existing? And this is why you're experiencing burnout. So I recommend doing that for a few days because our routine may look different from day to day. Take a look at that and really be mindful and be aware of the activities that you participate in, the practices that you participate in throughout the week that are actively filling your cup, because you really should have so many more activities that are filling your cup than you do activities that are emptying your cup. Now, of course, there are always things in life, tasks, jobs, people, whatever it is, it's always going to be there. There are always going to be those things that take from our cup. It's a reciprocity of life. But being mindful that you only have so much to give. And we've all said it before. You've all heard it before. You can't pour from an empty cup. But what does that really mean? And this is what it means. This is what, like, evaluating, okay, is my cup full? Is it empty? What are the things that are filling me, the things that are depleting me? And once you have awareness of that, you're able to make small, minor changes to add to your life or to take away from those things that are really causing you burnout. I definitely have practices that I do frequently that help me to stay away from burnout, that help me to keep my cup full. But what's interesting is that when I am so burnt out, even those exercises or practices that I'm used to doing to fill my cup, they become mindless and they become disingenuine. So they're not filling my cup. It becomes routine. It's almost like we go on autopilot because we're so used to just going through the mundane tasks of life, and we're doing this and we're doing this. So then when it comes to doing the activities where we need to fill our cup, we need to replenish, we're also on autopilot when we're doing those things. And when we're on autopilot, we're not able to receive, and we're also not able to give. We have to be present in the moment in order to be able to both give and receive. So I think that is the number one step, is practicing mindfulness, practicing awareness in the everyday things that you're doing, even if you believe that you are pouring into yourself. How many times do we pick up a book and we start to read it and we have to read the same page 3 times because our mind is somewhere else? And really, then what is the purpose of that? So it's important to be mindful of what you're doing and also set an intention. And sometimes when we're doing these practices that we are using to pour into ourselves, sometimes we would love to be able to do it for an hour, but the reality is that we are so burnt out that maybe we only have the capacity to do it for 5 minutes. But then guess what? The next day we have the capacity to do it for 10 minutes. And the next day we have the capacity to do it for 15 minutes. So really being aware of, is the practice that you are participating in actually benefiting you? Or is it just a facade that you think, okay, reading this book this is really gonna help, this is gonna fill my cup, but you're not reading with intention, you're not reading with purpose. So I really, really encourage you to, anytime you go into a practice of self-care or a practice of pouring into yourself, that you set an intention for what that is. What do I want to get out of this? What do I want to feel? How do I want to feel after these 5 minutes, after these 20 minutes, after this hour? And don't stray away from that. Don't allow your mind to go back to the stress and the things that you have going on and the worry. It's so easy to do and to let everything take over your mind. But the way that we are able to cure burnout forever is by practicing this and continuing to practice it, because just as with anything, the more we practice, the better we get, right? So continuing to practice, continuing to build that stamina of mindfulness, of meditation, and really finding that connection to yourself, that connection to your purpose, and that connection to God in every single thing that you do, in every single move that you make. You know, I say set an intention before you do a practice, but everything that you do should be with intention. Before you step into a room, before you leave your house for the day, before you sit down to have a conversation with somebody, what is your intention and how do you set that? Because if you're able to set that and you have a clear goal, you have a clear understanding with yourself of how this is helping you, how this is helping somebody else, how this is pouring into your purpose, then you're able to move with so much power, and you're able to move in a way that you're not depleting your cup because you know exactly the task at hand. I think it's also so important to remember that you are not alone on this journey. When we get to these places of burnout or stress or exhaustion, it's really, really, really easy for us to hermit and for us to turn inward, which absolutely we should do. But you also have to remember that you have community around you. You have people around you that care about you, that love you, that support you, that want to see you be the best version of yourself. You're not the only one that wants that. And understand that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for support. It's okay to be vulnerable and say, hey, I really could use a little bit of support today. Hey, I really could use maybe an hour of your time to just lift my spirits. And I think that we have become so accustomed, or it's very common for us to feel like doing something like that is such a burden to somebody else. But I think that when we are able to be vulnerable and we are able to share that, hey, I'm experiencing burnout, I'm experiencing exhaustion, I really could use an hour of your time. It makes it easier for our friends, our family, whoever it may be, to then do the same thing when they're in that position. Because the hardest thing is to ask for help, but you never are going to have an answer. You're never going to get what you want if you don't ask for it, right? And then you can move accordingly. And maybe they don't have the capacity to pour into you, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you have to hold it against them. That doesn't mean they don't care about you. It doesn't mean they don't love you. But just in that moment, maybe they're experiencing just as much burnout or exhaustion as you are. It's really interesting, though, because I've had this conversation with a few different people in my life recently. And, you know, like attracts like. And I think that people really find it easy to not want to ask for help or turn inward, or think that spending time with somebody is going to deplete their energy more than it's going to fill their energy. And that's not always the case. sometimes you do need that connection. Sometimes you do need that community, that support. And there have been a few occasions in the past month or so where I've had that conversation with a couple of different people, and we are both feeling burnout. We're both feeling exhaustion. And we do take the time, whether it's an hour or whether it's half a day, to spend together, to get out and do something, to be in the community, to be in that space of support and love. And you leave feeling so much better. But a lot of times in our minds, we psych ourselves out, we hype ourselves up thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to deplete me, so I'm just going to say no. But I think it's so important for you to really evaluate before you say that no. Is this really going to deplete me, or is this in my head because I am experiencing burnout? And do I really actually need that connection and that support and that love? And I would say that 9 times out of 10, it is what we're craving and it is what we're desiring. But sometimes it's out of fear. Sometimes it's out of self-sabotage that it's easier for us to just turn inward. We don't want to be a burden. We don't want to be bothersome to somebody. But we're around each other for a reason, that we have community, we have family, we have friends for a reason. And the more that we understand that we can all be of service to each other without it taking away from our energy, from what we're doing, from ourselves, and realizing that we as humans thrive on that. And we should be welcoming it at almost all times. Now, that's not to say I am somebody who I absolutely need my alone time. And I think that that has been something that's been really hard on this journey for me, is discerning when I'm experiencing burnout. Yes, there are absolutely times that I need to just dive into myself, and I need to evaluate, why am I experiencing this burnout? What practices am I not doing, or what practices am I doing mindlessly that I'm not receiving any benefit from? And we all need that alone time. We all need to connect back with ourselves. But it's also important to understand that we also have to connect with those around us, because without connection, what is your purpose? I don't believe that anybody's purpose, anybody's God-given purpose, is stemming from just themselves. There is a purpose in the community, in exactly where you are today, in the people that you're around. And what does your purpose entail when you're around these people? What does your purpose entail when you're by yourself? And how do the people around you encourage you when you are by yourself to step up, to make better choices, to do the things that are going to pour into your cup and are going to fulfill you? So just being mindful, because truly that is what it's all about, is being mindful of what exactly you need in that moment, being mindful of the things that are fulfilling you, being mindful of your purpose, being mindful if you're in alignment with yourself, because when you are not in alignment with yourself, that is the fastest, easiest, quickest way to experience burnout, because you're not doing the things that are right for you. And that is why you feel lost. That is why you feel like, oh my gosh, what is my purpose? What am I doing? I don't know. I'm too tired. Let me just stay inside all day. Let me just stay by myself. When you're able to address that, find the target, find the trigger, flip your mindset and say, okay, no, I know that I'm exhausted because I'm doing something that doesn't feel right. I'm doing something every single day that I hate doing, but I'm doing it because I should. And then, is that how you want to live the rest of your life? Is exhausted and burnt out and disassociated? Absolutely not. So if you did not watch last week's episode, I strongly, highly encourage you to go watch it, because it is about having that self-awareness. It is about being able to check in with yourself. Are you connected with yourself, or are you disassociated? And once you're able to master that, then you're able to master the things, the smaller things, the day-to-day things. Is this what I want to be doing, or am I on autopilot? Because I think that there are so many people who do live their lives on autopilot. And I will be the first to say your life is so much more fulfilling when you are present in every moment and you get rid of that autopilot. But what's interesting is sometimes we get used to running on autopilot, maybe at our job, because we know we're going to be there from 9 to 5. We do the same thing every single day. Let me run on autopilot. Unfortunately, when we get so used to running on autopilot, even if it's just at work from 9 to 5, eventually we start to live our entire life on autopilot. And before you know it, you don't even remember what you ate for dinner yesterday, or you don't even remember how you got home, because you're constantly in this autopilot moment and you're disassociated. Now, I've used this word disassociated many times, but it's so important for me to define words because I think that a lot of words can be used out of context many a time. So what is disassociation? Disassociation is a disconnection and a lack of connection or continuity in between your thoughts. So you may have a thought and then you shut out and your brain isn't really running and you're not very present for who knows how long. It could maybe start with 30 seconds and then maybe eventually you get so used to disassociating and disconnecting that you're disassociated the entire day. And you're disassociated from people, you're disassociated from your community, you're disassociated from absolutely yourself, you're disassociated from your purpose, your fulfillment, from your connection to God. And again, it goes back to that internal self-awareness that you have. How often are you checking in on how self-aware you are, on the things that you're going through? How often are you checking in to make sure that you're present in every single moment? Or are you thinking about what you have to do in the next hour? Why not let those things go? If you have to, write down all the things that you have to do. So that way it's not taking up space in your mind, but you're able to presently show up, whether it's for the people in your life, whether it's for something that you're working on, whether it's for yourself, whether it's showing up to pour into yourself, making sure that you eliminate dissociation as much as you possibly can. And it's going to be a practice. I think a lot of us are used to disassociating, and it truly brings so much lack to our lives when we disassociate. And when we're able to start to really have that connection again, is when we feel the abundance. It's when we feel the gratitude. It's when we're able to appreciate every single moment that we experience in life. So now, what are some things that you can do that help you to reassociate, to connect to your body, to rid yourself of burnout, to fill your own cup? There are so many practices that you can do. One, absolutely meditating. Clear your mind, connect with your body, focus on your breath work. And when you're able to focus on your breath work, you really find that mind-body connection that sometimes we forget. Sometimes our body just moves because it knows how to move, but we do have a mind-body connection. And when you're able to recognize that and really use that to your advantage and allow it to empower you, you feel so much more connected to yourself. And finding that mind-body connection, like I said, you can find it in your breath work. You can find it in other practices, whether it's stretching, whether it's working out, going to the gym, getting exercise, moving your body, or even just checking in with your body through a meditation. How is every single part of my body feeling in this present moment? And a lot of times we don't take the time to address those things. So mind-body connection is huge. Having that mindfulness, taking time to pour into yourself. And maybe that looks like checking in with yourself, checking in with your feelings, checking in with do I feel myself today, or do I feel like I have taken on energies of others, or do I feel like I'm just a little bit checked out because I have a lot going on? And if that's the case, I am such a firm believer in writing things down. Write down all of the things that you need to do, because then they're not taking up space in your mind. You can see it in front of you, and it makes all of your tasks at hand so much easier to tackle and accomplish, and you can check them off. And that is a relieving feeling in itself. I think that that is absolutely something that helps with burnout, is addressing everything that needs to be done and also prioritizing those things, because a lot of times we can prioritize things that really serve us no good or have no importance, but we do think it's important. And then we make a list of all of the things that truly are important, and we see what takes precedence. And I think it's important to really be mindful of those things and check in with where your priorities are, and how do your priorities connect with your true purpose? How do your priorities serve the alignment that you have within yourself? Like I said, another way to rid yourself of this burnout is putting yourself in the community, finding those people who you know are going to fill your cup, who are going to help you to replenish that energy, and finding those people that have the reciprocity to do so, so that when you spend time with somebody, you are not only having your cup filled, but you are also filling their cup. And I think that those friendships, relationships, whatever, connections, they're definitely few and far between. But I think that when you do have those, it's so important to cherish them and pour into them, and make sure that you are not self-sabotaging those connections or relationships because you are experiencing burnout or disassociation. And just making sure that you're allowing support from those around you, because we all crave and thrive on true, genuine connection. Find relaxing activities for you. I'm such a huge believer in getting out in nature, going out to the beach and sitting and staring at the ocean, and going on a hike and being at the top of a mountain. They really allow you that connection to not only yourself and your purpose and to God, but they allow you that connection to the environment that you're in. And it allows you to place yourself in such a large picture that you feel so small, and some of the things that you're experiencing feel so small. Because truly, the universe and this earth that we're on are so much bigger than we even realize. And immersing yourself in nature is a great way to remind yourself of that. It's a great way to refresh, to cleanse your energy. The ocean is so healing, so cleansing. Any body of water is cleansing. So if you don't have an ocean near you, or you don't have a lake or a river or a pond or whatever around you, even thinking of taking a bath, taking a salt bath is so cleansing, so healing for your energy. And it allows you to release some of the things that you're holding on to that you don't even realize. Finding practices that just bring you peace, that bring you peace, joy, connection with yourself, that leave you feeling full of love, feel full of gratitude, full of abundance. Those are the practices that you should be doing on the daily. Making sure that you're taking time in between or before or after whatever tasks you may have to do to pour into yourself, and watch how your life changes. Watch how you perform so much better at work or in your career or with your business, because you're actually taking the time to pour into yourself. So this week, I really encourage you to take some time, take 3 days, pick 3 days out of this week that you are going to evaluate what your day looks like. What are the activities that fill your cup? What are the activities that empty your cup? And take note of each day, at the end of each day, are you in the negative or are you in the positive? And how can you add more activities to your day, more practices to your day that are going to leave your cup full at the end of the day? I think too, sometimes we think of these activities or these practices that they have to be hours long or they have to be of significance, but sometimes all it really takes is 10 to 15 minutes of checking in with yourself, sitting in silence, reading a book, going outside, getting some sunlight and some vitamin D. Start with the smaller tasks. They don't have to be big tasks. So once you figure out the tasks that are fulfilling you, the tasks that are depleting you, you're able to decide what you want more of and decide what you want less of and start to implement some of these habits and practices, making sure that whatever rest you are getting is purposeful, intentional, active rest and recovery versus continuing to rest and recover on autopilot, which is not going to serve your highest self, which is not going to help with your connection or put you back in alignment with yourself. And also, as you move throughout the week and you are starting to implement these practices, show yourself compassion, show yourself love, show yourself grace, show yourself respect, because these little things are not easy, but the more you start to practice them, the more you want better for yourself, the more you're going to experience such a shift in your life. And you're going to be able to enjoy life and its beauty in its entirety because you're going to be present in every single moment that you are alive, in every single moment that you exist. And that is when I believe that true bliss occurs. I am sending you so much love and light, and I hope you have a beautiful week.